All right, guys. So with the 62nd pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears go ahead and select Shemar Turner, defensive tackle from Texas A&M. And this pick was part of the trade package that was sent with the Bills. So if you guys remember, pick 41 was traded for picks 56, 62, and I believe 109 or some fourth round pick. But Shemar Turner was the second pick of this sort of trade package. So a little bit about Shemar Turner. He's 6'3", 290 pounds, and he just turned 22 this year, back in January. So he's still a younger guy. Obviously, nothing super young like 21 or 20, but still in that nice range where he's got enough college experience to be, to develop pretty quickly at the NFL level, but not super old to where he's going to have less years of his prime for us. So I do like that age for him. He did not test well enough to earn an RAS score, so I'm not going to be posting anything on the screen because there's nothing to show for his RAS score, but Ryan Poles again with his versatility pick right here. Absolutely love this pick. This is like I said, another versatile lineman. He's played all over the defensive line. I believe he has 200 snaps at defensive end. So I know that it says that he's a defensive tackle, but he plays a lot at defensive end. So Ryan Poles, now he has three versatile defensive linemen. You've got Deo Odeyingbo, you've got Javon Dexter, who could play defensive end, and you've got now Shemar Turner. So I really think those three guys, at the very minimum, Deo and Shemar, have shown they can play both. I know Dexter's sort of like a rumor for now, but Shemar Turner, definitely going to be a guy that can play all over the defensive line. Now, with the fact him being 290 pounds and 6'3", I do predict that Dennis Allen and Ben Johnson are probably going to ask him to slim down in weight. Nothing crazy, probably like maybe 10, 15 pounds at most, just so he can sort of be versatile enough to play on a defensive end, but nothing too crazy to where he can't generate enough power in the interior. Or they might just leave him at 290. That's also a very much a possibility. You look at Aaron Donald when he was drafted. He was, I believe, 290 pounds as well, and I think even shorter at like 6 foot. And he's played at defensive end sometimes too, even at the NFL level. So, it's not to say that he absolutely has to slim down in weight, but it might help him with his speed because you're now progressing to NFL speed, and you might need to slim down in weight to be able to have that much more quickness in your speed. If there's one thing that you want to talk about with Shemar Turner, it's the fact that he is an energizer bunny. He plays with a ton of aggression, and he just has an insane motor. And if you look at him, as soon as the ball is snapped, he's pretty much the first guy just in the backfield or on attacking the line of scrimmage. And keep in mind, he had two other guys that went before him, his teammates, Shemar Stewart, the other Shemar. Shemar Stewart was drafted, I believe, 18th overall by the Bengals. And then you have Nick Scorton, who was drafted a little bit before Shemar Turner. I don't think it was that much further, but he went to the Panthers. Nick Scorton was the other guy on the defensive side of the ball. And even Shemar Turner, a guy that, you have two other guys on the defensive line that went before you, still pops out on the highlight reel. So I love that for Shemar Turner, getting him at pick 62, so damn near the third round. And I will say that 2024 was a bit of a down year for him. So if I read you guys some stats here from 23, he was second team All SEC. He was tied for third in the FBS with 2 block kicks, started 12 games. He had 33 tackles, 10 tackles for a loss, 6 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. And then you look at 2024 when he had that down year. He started 12 games, so the same amount as last year. Had 3 more tackles at 36, but then had 5.5 tackles for a loss, so basically half the number, and only 2 sacks with a pass breakup and a forced fumble. So essentially, every stat kind of went down. Pretty much everything that isn't tackles kind of went down by half. So, there was a lot of concerns with how they were playing on the defensive line. So a lot of people say that the coaching and sort of the play calling and where they were kind of scheming guys up wasn't exactly the best. And that's why guys like Shemar Stewart, even though he only had 4.5 sacks all season, all throughout his 3 years of college, that there was some room for sort of excuses, I guess you could say, for him to be drafted that early because he just has all the tools, but they just weren't playing him correctly. So we'll see if that remains to be true in the NFL. But I do love this pick, and I would even say that this is my favorite pick out of all our picks in the NFL draft at pick 62. A lot of analysts had this guy going in the early second round. So I do think it's great value. Now, it's not the best in the world. It's not like he was a first round pick. Like a Luther Burden probably was probably the best value pick in the draft, just because that dude could have easily been the second receiver off the board, and we got him at pick 39. But like I said, Ryan Poles with the versatility pick, and now you add back-to-back with Ozzie Trapillo at pick 56, and pick 62 is another versatility pick where both guys now, Ozzie Trapillo and Shemar Turner, both being able to play almost all positions on their respective sides of the ball. So I absolutely love that for the trenches, and especially for us who very much struggled in the trenches last year, both on offense and defense. Automatically, if it's a defensive pick or a defensive line pick or an offensive line pick, it really is an A in my book. It's a W. I love the pick regardless. Now it just becomes a matter of, can Ben Johnson and, more importantly, Dennis Allen train these guys up to NFL speed and be able to develop them as, solid players at their position. So hopefully that's the case, man. Like I said, it'll probably just slam down and wait. I will say one downside about Shemar Turner, other than the fact that his 2024 campaign wasn't as good as his 2023 year, is the fact that he does have a temper. So he causes way too many 15-yard penalties, and I think he's going to be sort of like maybe like that Jameson Williams kind of guy, where he's, except on the defensive side of the ball, where he's just getting himself into way too much trouble, costing the team. But keep in mind, he's only 22 years old. He just turned 22, so he's still basically a kid. And when you go up to the NFL level, there are coaches out there that can really, whip a guy into shape. It's almost like sending a bad kid to the army. They come back nice and disciplined. It could be the same situation here. And if you kind of remember Carlos Zambrano, this is the sort of comparison I'm going to make. If you guys remember Carlos Zambrano, former Cubs pitcher, I know this is a completely different sport, but Carlos Zambrano was a really good player for us, for the Chicago Cubs. And one of the big things about him, other than the fact he was pretty good and being able to hit as a pitcher, was the fact that he had a huge temper. And he would get thrown out of games left and right and getting into yelling matches with the umpires. And it was very entertaining to watch. But at the NFL level, where 15-yard penalties can really set you back, you definitely don't want to see that. So hopefully Shemar Turner, really relaxes on that. But other than that, man, I love the pick. Let me know what you guys think, man. Bear down, I'm out.